Alright, little munchkins, today I'm going to teach you how to print money building apps with AI. So, a lot of people have been talking about this recently. It seems to be at the forefront of everyone's For You page about how a 13-year-old can build a multi-million dollar AI company and they're from India. So, I'm going to show you exactly what I do right now, how I'm building AI apps, or what I would like to do to see if they would work. And this is my exact method. I don't have any results to show right now just because I'm in the building phases. Your boy is trying to make himself a name. So let's go through what I'm currently doing right now and how it all exactly works, and I'll try to put it in like a 5-year-old's like they could even understand. So let's first look at like what are the tools that you can currently use to build with AI. Like say you have no experience whatsoever, I would recommend these. So what I currently do right now is I have two models and I would feed information from one model into the other. One of them is describing what I want to be done better than I probably could in a single prompt, and it's congesting a bunch of information down, just a bunch of random thoughts that I have. So say for instance, I'm going to take these images. This is another thing that I do. I have two images. These are from like just a random app called Quitter. This has done really well from a guy who made his app with AI basically. Excuse me. And so we will use this as context, and I'm going to be using these two models, GPT-5, or you can use the Pro, it doesn't matter. But the main thing is that we're using Opus 4.5, and we're going to be using Claude Code. Claude Code is the best, I guess, like AI to be able to help you code anything right now. I would say it's by far the best, especially when it comes to structuring your code base, building apps, stuff like that. GPT-5, on the other hand, or any other LLM, really, I just use it because I've used it a lot. It's good for congesting a lot of the information that you want down into a big prompt that you will give to Claude, and then Claude will code it up for you, basically. So you will use VS Code, probably, or whatever your IDE is. This is basically how you code up all of this stuff. And Claude, it has an extension that it will go into your IDE, which is basically where you code, and it will read everything, all the files, all the information that it has created, or it will create for you when you prompt it. And has an extension that you can just log in with your account, and it'll read everything and it'll do everything. Do not use Claude.ai, like the website, when you're doing this and copy and pasting everything. It takes way too long, and Claude Code acts way differently when it's in an IDE versus when it's on the website. So that's important to note here. But here's what I do. I'm going to go find whatever app that I want. For instance, these two. And I'm going to actually screenshot every single thing. Let's say I want to copy an app directly, but I want to put like a niche twist on it, or I want to modify. I like how it looks, but I want to modify some of the pages. I will take screenshots of every single one of the onboarding pages, and like everything from the App Store. So on the App Store, they will have like all of their pages and how everything looks, and you can even download the app yourself and go and look through them and see what you like. You're gonna ask ChatGPT to basically look at these images, and you're also going to feed the images to Claude as well. But you're going to ask it to describe these references, which are the images, as features or components, and to describe them exactly so that Claude can replicate it. And then, on top of knowing what these references are and how it's supposed to be built, you're going to ask it to suggest how they were built and what libraries it used, because this is important. Because if it's going to start mixing coding languages, you want to be very specific, and so it doesn't do that. And a lot of the times, these people there have their own custom made sort of components and stuff in the library, so you want to try to pinpoint exactly what exactly they could be using, and then feed that input to Cloud Code with the prompt from GPT. This is what I've been doing, and has worked really well. It's usually like one or two long prompts, and then I can go in after each of those, because obviously you're rate limited and stuff like that, and you can just edit everything. The code, like for the frameworks and languages I would recommend is React Native, Next.js, iOS, Android. Like it's super easy, super chill. Most of the apps on the App Store are probably using these. So yeah, just I don't know, no brainer. I don't have the experience with any other ones like formally, even like not coding with AI. So, and the modern UI library I would suggest is Tamaji UI. It's very modern, very new, updated lots, just super simple. I don't have any experience with any other one, so this is the one that was suggested to me from people who have built apps on the App Store. Quitter also uses Tamaji UI. A lot of the other like people who are just like AI app builders in the space use Tamaji UI. So I would just check it out, see if it's for you. There's also like the general like React Native like components library as well that you can use and just import those and build your own components and stuff. But that's what I would recommend. For just like CI/CD stuff, use GitHub, make it a private repo so people don't like see what you're doing and all your code gets leaked and then you deploy it on the App Store and they're like, oh, here's a copy of it. Don't do that. Yeah, be safe with your environmental variables as well. But yeah, just use this for CI/CD. Very simple. Use Git Bash if you can, or use some sort of like credential manager. Makes it super easy. For the databases, where you sync all of the data. So this front end and back end information. So this is going to be how it visibly looks. This is how it's going to be coded with this UI library visibly, and it's going to be synced. This is the back. This is the backend that we're going to be using, which basically stores all of the information that the user is going to be inputting, and any other credential information, because we're going to use it as a database and authentication system. So one of the requirements, I guess, like for the App Store, in particular, is when you go to the App Store, and if you have a continue with any other third party, you also have to add the Apple authentication for that, as a requirement. So you can either just have Apple only, which is kind of a downside because a lot of people use Google, or you have to have Google and then plus Apple as well. And this uses a PostgreSQL database. SQL is easy to write. GPT Cloud Code is really good at just writing whatever SQL things you need. So for this, like you might have these sort of things. So you might have like a user. You have like a user schema. You might have like onboarding questions schema. So this is where they would store like all of the answers that they give you, and then maybe just like I don't know, credentials is probably also stored with the Apple login information and the Google login credential information as well. Um, I don't know if it's a requirement that you only use the specified Google and Apple provided plugins for credentials and they have their own processor for it, or if you can also store it in Superbase yourself. I would recommend storing it in Superbase yourself just in case. Um, and yeah, just use Superbase for database and all. That's super simple, super easy to use. But now it's like, okay, so you have everything developed, you have everything looking visible, then you have everything synced on the back end. But how do you actually like start making money? How do you start to find like, I guess, like a good price point that people will pay for this? I'm not going to go into marketing into this video. I'll probably make a separate video on that. Because marketing is a whole big thing. But you use Revenue Cat. Revenue Cat is basically in-app purchases. It acts as a hard paywall for, and you can just insert it at different points into your app. So let's say we have like, I don't know, this is screen one, screen two, screen three. This one is like your first page. Let's say it's like onboarding. These are like questions that you're like asking like the user about like their particular issue or something like that, or you're describing like the problem statement, or you're trying to get them into the app, like what it does, just very brief and quickly. And then you like after you do this, you get a sense and you get all of the data and information that you need from them. So you have some data here. I should probably change up the colors. And now you're kind of like understanding a little bit more about this user once you have this inputted on the back end. So now it comes to like phase two. Um, so phase two is basically like, let's have a hard paywall. And what that basically means is you're going to prompt the user to want to take some initial action based on this data that you have. So let's say I'm addicted to smoking and I really want to stop smoking. And all this onboarding has basically told, some code on the back end over here that this guy is very susceptible to, I don't know, like you're going to die of cancer in like 20 years or something like that. Or you have like increased chance of lung cancer or something like that. Hard paywall basically says like, here are the subscription things you cannot continue until you pay this up. We're not going to give you a free trial, or we're only going to give you 7 days for a free trial, but you have to put a credit card or something like that. There's a lot of different payment methods, and prices, things that you can check out. I would 100% only recommend doing a subscription model. Nowadays everything is subscription model. Netflix, Hulu, any editing software and stuff like that, is doing subscription models. So yeah, it tends to be pretty good. What I would personally recommend is doing this. Um, I would first have subscription model, and I would have either weekly or monthly. Just try both to see what works best. You want to be consistently shifting, because what you want to do is maximize your lifetime value for a particular person or client. And what that basically means is, what is the maximum value that you can get out of this person over the course of them using their app at any given time. And so what that means is finding what price point would a general person or average person using the app want to pay, or put yourself in the shoes of the person who is going to pay the app. What is something that you would want to pay for the services that you're providing within the app? And you can do that based off all of these analytics that they'll provide you. So instead of maybe inserting it this hard paywall here, maybe you have, I don't know, maybe you have like more info here. I don't know, just I for info. Maybe you have more info instead. I don't know what it may be after you do the onboarding and stuff. Instead of putting it here, you're going to put the hard paywall here in slide 3. And now you have basically you have data, you have more information, and you're trying to, I don't know, do something here that will convince them to want to buy it more. And then you just have the hard paywall is here instead. So you want to be like consistently testing and shifting, and based off your analytics, adjusting basically a few things. These are the main two things that you want to adjust. One, the placement, and two, the price. Because depending on how far this person is into onboarding, and also what information you have provided them with, will act as something that will convince them to want to be able to buy your service. And where you place that really matters. If I place it, straight at the beginning, let's say I place it here at this X right here, and I haven't onboarded the person. I just told them like maybe what the app does and log in. They're probably not going to buy it because they don't know anything about like what I'm selling them. But say if I place it after this onboarding, I have some data, some other information, and I place it here. Now this person knows what the app does, how it's supposed to help them, and what their issues are. Now I can place it here and be like, okay, you have a serious problem. Consider buying, right? This is probably one of the most important sections after you start building. Like building it is already tedious enough, but if you don't know how to use RevenueCat, like you are honestly screwed. So yeah, after that you kind of get a little bit happy. I'll talk about Apple, but this is something that's kind of underrated. Akido. I learned this actually in school, and I don't see a lot of people using it. Your Claude Code and GPT are gonna write you some vulnerabilities. I'm not gonna lie. Like it has written some very sketchy SQL code that is susceptible to a bunch of different vulnerabilities. And Akido will basically tell you that. It also helps with your App Store and Google compliance. A lot of the times, people that they just vibe code a bunch of apps, they will just get it back, and it will be like you have all of these vulnerabilities, fix them, and then like you go back to Claude Code and all of them, and then they just make more. So Akido will basically just tell you what it is, and then you can either one, just go and fix it based on what it recommends, or two, prompt it into Claude Code, which I would not recommend just because it will maybe like give you more errors. A good example of this is the T app. T app was basically like an anonymous dating app that women would post about men, about I think like their dates and experiences, and basically trash talk them. They vibe coded their app, and some like hackers or like pen testers went in, and like they found an AWS server with all of the information, and they leaked everyone's like licenses, location, names, and everything, because the bucket was basically public, and you could find one of the API keys or like credentials within the embedded information within the APK of the App Store, or the application basically. So yeah, don't do that. Just make sure that your code is secure. And then after that, yeah, you're at Apple or Android, like Google Play Store, whatever it may be. Apple, I just mostly do iOS. I tend to not even like care about Android most of the time right now. But Apple, they take a 30% cut after you have $1 million in sales. In-app purchases are 30% cut after the first year, and then 15% thereafter. If you're in the small business program, it's 15%, and then Apple Developer Program, I think, is like $99 to sign up or something like that, yearly renewed. And yeah, that's basically like the entire stack that I use, that I'm currently using. Super easy. And then I would also recommend, if like say after you do all this RevenueCat stuff and you're actually making a lot of money, like 10K, 20K a month or something, I would recommend making a simple website. So buy a domain that's related like to your application after you set up your LLC and stuff like that. You have Namecheap. Namecheap by the domain. This can be like five bucks or something. Depends how much you want to splurge. Use Cloudflare for security and as a reverse proxy, so people can't just like steal all of your code or like easily decompile it or reverse engineer it. I mean, it's already hard with like all of the stuff when it compiles and sends, and it's done with Vercel. Vercel is what you use to deploy easy links to GitHub, private repos, doesn't really cost anything. You might need to upgrade a tier, and even if you do, it's not that expensive. I believe when I calculated everything that I was using for this entire tech stack, it comes around to like $100 or less each month, and that's mostly if you do a website. Revenue Cat, I believe it was like $10 or $20. Superbase will probably be your most expensive if you have a lot of data or you decide to work with APIs. This is free, 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 free. Claude Code is $20 a month. You don't really need GPT Pro, honestly, because it's not doing any coding. But if you really want to count that, it's another 20. So like, what, 40, 60. Ocado is another 20, 80. If you decide to use it, you don't really have to. And then the percent cut. So yeah, around less than $100 just to deploy an app and build it from scratch. Basically, it might take you, a couple weeks, a month, stuff like that. But this is a simple stack, doesn't really cost anything. In a future video, I'll talk about marketing, but yeah, super simple stuff. Let me know if you have any questions.